The annual family barbecue at Uncle Steve's sprawling suburban mansion was in full swing, the air thick with the smell of expensive steaks and even more expensive opinions. The 5-acre property, worth north of $8 million in today's market, showcased every status symbol imaginable, from the Olympic-sized pool where cousins showed off their designer swimwear to the climate-controlled wine cellar visible through imported French windows. The perfectly manicured lawn, maintained by a team of groundskeepers who probably earned more than they thought I did, was dotted with relatives showing off their latest acquisitions. Cousin Brad's new Bentley Continental GT gleamed in the circular driveway, while Aunt Patricia's latest Mercedes-AMG served as a backdrop for her Instagram photos. The driveway looked like a luxury car showroom, making my modest Camry seem delightfully out of place among the automotive royalty. "So, Mark," Uncle Steve called out as he flipped $500 per pound wagyu beef on his professional-grade outdoor kitchen setup, his Patek Philippe watch catching the summer sun. "Still pushing papers at that consulting firm? What's it been now, 5 years?" I sipped my water. They'd forgotten to offer me any of the Macallan 25 being passed around in crystal tumblers that probably cost more than what they assumed was my monthly salary. Something like that. Just working my way up. Cousin Brad, fresh from making partner at his prestigious law firm, snickered behind his glass of scotch. His Italian leather loafers probably cost more than what he thought I made in a month. Entry level at 30? Come on, cuz. Even the mailroom guys make more than you by now. My junior associates clear 7 figures their first year. I watched the ice cubes swirl in my glass, thinking about the meeting I'd just left with Goldman Sachs' top executives. The acquisition paperwork was probably being finalized right now, not that any of them knew that. The deal would reshape 3 industries, but here I was, being lectured about career advancement. "He just needs to apply himself," Aunt Patricia chimed in, adjusting her Van Cleef & Arpels tennis bracelet that she'd bought to outshine Aunt Sarah's Cartier collection. "Remember when you turned down that management position at your father's company? Could have been a VP by now, driving a proper car, living in a real house." Uncle Steve nodded sagely, his spatula waving like a conductor's baton. The outdoor kitchen had cost more than most homes, with its built-in refrigerators and professional-grade everything. "Instead of whatever it is you do, what's your title again?" "Junior analyst." "Associate consultant," I corrected mildly, checking my phone as another update came in. The stock price was climbing exactly as predicted, adding billions to the deal's value. My net worth had probably increased by a few billion in the last hour alone. "Associate." Brad laughed, nearly spilling his 18-year-old scotch on his $5,000 suit. "I make more in bonuses than you do all year. Maybe I can put in a word at my firm. We always need paralegals. Starting salaries probably double what you're making now." He had no idea that I owned a controlling interest in his law firm through a series of shell companies. The managing partner reported directly to one of my holding companies, not that anyone at the family barbecue needed to know that yet. Mom touched my arm sympathetically, her new diamond bracelet, a gift from Dad's moderately successful manufacturing business, catching the light. "Honey, maybe it's time to reconsider your father's offer. The family business has always been good to us. Look at your cousin Rachel, she joined her father's real estate firm and just bought a vacation home in Aspen." I glanced at my father, manning the second grill with considerably less expensive meat. He'd been trying to get me to join his manufacturing company since graduation, never understanding why I'd chosen my own path. The company was successful enough, making a few million in profit each year, but nothing compared to what was about to happen. "I'm comfortable where I am," I said, watching another message light up my phone's screen. The merger was entering its final phase, and the zeros in the transaction would soon make Uncle Steve's mansion look like a starter home. "Comfortable?" Uncle Steve scoffed, his custom-made apron advertising his membership at the city's most exclusive country club. "Driving that 10-year-old Camry? Living in that tiny downtown apartment? That's not comfortable, that's settling. Even my gardener drives a newer car." Cousin Jessica, fresh from her latest shopping spree judging by her new Gucci bag and Louboutin heels, joined the pile-on. Her husband's tech startup had just received a minor funding round, and she hadn't stopped talking about being a startup wife for weeks. "Even my husband's company is worth more than you make. What is it you actually do all day?" "Excel spreadsheets. Mergers and acquisitions mostly," I replied, which was technically true. They just didn't know which side of the mergers I was on, or that I was the one signing the checks, not receiving them. Right? Brad smirked, swirling his scotch with practiced condescension. Probably filing paperwork for the real dealmakers. Speaking of which, did you hear about the Mitchell Group acquisition? Biggest deal of the year. My firm handled the legal side. $12 billion. Probably more money than you'll see in 10 lifetimes. I nodded, remembering the Mitchell CEO's face when I'd presented our terms last week. He'd been just as condescending as Brad until he realized who he was actually meeting with. I heard something about that. My phone buzzed again. A message from my assistant. Sir, final signatures received. Merger completion imminent. Press release ready for your approval. Goldman Sachs confirms transfer of funds. The Mitchell Group is now officially part of Chin Global Holdings. You should read the business news more, Uncle Steve lectured, plating another perfectly grilled steak that probably cost more than what he thought I made in a week. Keep up with the real players in the industry. That Mitchell deal is going to reshape the entire sector. Maybe you'd learn something about real business instead of playing with spreadsheets. Actually, I started to say, but was cut off by the sound of approaching heels on the imported Italian patio tiles. My assistant Sarah appeared, tablet in hand, her Hermes suit worth more than Brad's entire wardrobe. Her professional calm masked the urgency of the moment. Mr. Chin, I apologize for interrupting your family gathering, but the $12 billion merger is complete. The board is waiting for your final approval to announce the acquisition of the Mitchell Group. The sound of Brad's plate crashing to the ground was particularly satisfying, his wagyu steak creating an expensive stain on Uncle Steve's pristine patio. The patio fell into a silence broken only by the sizzling of forgotten steaks on Uncle Steve's precious grill. His Patek Philippe watch ticked loudly in the quiet, each second worth more in merger profits than his mansion's value. Your merger. Aunt Patricia's diamond tennis bracelet clinked against her crystal glass, her perfectly manicured hand trembling. There must be some mistake. No mistake, Sarah continued, her tablet displaying real-time stock updates. Mr. Chen's acquisition of the Mitchell Group represents the largest private takeover in the sector's history. The press conference is scheduled for an hour from now. Cousin Brad stumbled forward, his Italian loafers slipping on the wagyu steak he'd dropped. But my firm handled that deal. I would have known. Your firm's M&A department reports to one of my holding companies, I explained, finally accepting a glass of the Macallan 25 from a shell-shocked Uncle Steve. I bought controlling interest last year. The managing partner signed an NDA. That's why you weren't briefed on who was really behind the acquisition. Mom's new diamond bracelet caught the sunlight as her hand flew to her mouth. But you live in that small apartment. Drive that old car. That small apartment is the penthouse of a building I own, I corrected, pulling up some details on my phone. The entire block, actually. The old Camry is a prototype with more computing power than NASA's control center. I prefer to stay under the radar. My phone buzzed again. Sarah put it on speaker. Mr. Chin, Goldman Sachs confirms the funds have cleared. Your net worth just increased by approximately $4 billion from the stock price surge. Also, the Prime Minister of Singapore is requesting a meeting about the Asian expansion. Jessica's Gucci bag slipped from her shoulder. $4 billion. Just from today's stock movement, I nodded. The merger itself adds about $15 billion to the portfolio. Small compared to last quarter's acquisitions, but strategic for the Asian market. Uncle Steve's spatula clattered to the ground. Last quarter's. The telecom merger in Europe, the tech consortium in California, and that little pharmaceutical company in Boston, Sarah supplied helpfully. Total value approximately $68 billion. Though Mr. Chen's primary holding company remains private, so the true net worth is. That's enough, Sarah, I interrupted gently. I don't think my family needs the full financial breakdown. Dad had abandoned his grill, the cheaper steaks now burning. Son, why didn't you tell us? Would you have understood? I asked, accepting another message on my phone. Every time I tried to explain my business strategy, you talked over me about real jobs and proper careers. So I built something bigger instead. The tablet in Sarah's hands displayed breaking news headlines. Breaking. Mitchell Group acquired in $12 billion deal. Tech Wunderkind strikes again. Chen's empire grows. Wall Street shocked as mystery billionaire reveals identity. Young mogul's holdings worth more than small nations. Inside the secret empire of Mark Chin. Brad was frantically Googling on his phone, his hands shaking. This says you're worth more than everyone at this barbecue combined, multiplied by about 1,000, I finished. That startup your wife keeps bragging about. I own the venture capital firm that's about to decline their next funding round. Jessica dropped her champagne flute. Sarah's tablet chimed again. Sir, the NYSE chairman is asking about the secondary offering. The Saudi Wealth Fund increased their bid to $30 billion, and Jeff Bezos is still waiting for a return call. Tell Jeff I'll call him back, I said, watching Uncle Steve's face turn interesting shades of red. The Saudis can wait until after the Asia deal, and let the NYSE know we'll proceed as planned with the $100 billion offering. $100 billion? Mom whispered. The public only sees a small fraction of the holdings, I explained, pulling up a holographic display from my ordinary phone. Chin Global Holdings includes over 300 companies across 12 industries. That merger your husband's startup is hoping for, Jessica? I own both companies involved. The hologram showed a web of corporations, investments, and acquisitions that made Uncle Steve's business lecture seem childishly simple. Each node represented billions in assets, tens of thousands of employees, and complete sectors of global industry. But the Mitchell Group, Brad protested weakly, they were too big to be bought. The market cap alone was $15 billion before I started buying shares through shell companies, I nodded. Amazing what you can do with proper strategy instead of just bragging about deals at family barbecues. Sarah's tablet lit up again. Sir, the SEC filing is complete. Your real-time net worth just updated too. 6 months later, I sat in my private office atop the newly constructed Chin Global Tower, watching my family fidget in their seats during the quarterly family investment meeting. The 100-story building dominated the city skyline, its quantum glass windows offering a view of the empire their failed relative had built. The same relatives who'd mocked my entry-level job now sat before me, their expressions a mixture of awe, regret, and barely concealed desperation. Uncle Steve's mansion was visible in the distance, looking remarkably small from this height. His precious outdoor kitchen, where he'd lectured me about real business, now sat in the shadow of my corporate headquarters. I'd bought the surrounding properties just to ensure the building's shadow would fall exactly there during family barbecues. A petty move perhaps, but satisfying nonetheless. As you can see, I gestured to the holographic displays surrounding us. Chin Global's market capitalization has exceeded $1 trillion. Last quarter's acquisitions alone added more value than the combined net worth of everyone at that barbecue. The numbers floated in the air, each digit a reminder of how thoroughly I'd shattered their perceptions. Cousin Brad, no longer wearing his beloved Rolex after his law firm's restructuring, shifted uncomfortably in his ergonomic chair. His Italian loafers had been replaced by department store shoes, and his custom suits had given way to off-the-rack alternatives. About the firm's merger. You mean my consolidation of the legal division? I smiled, watching him squirm. 14 law firms merged into Chin Legal Services. More efficient that way. Though I did ensure all partners received fair compensation for their cooperation. The unspoken message was clear. His partnership had been worth far less than he'd believed. Sarah's hologram appeared with updates, her presence as immaculate as ever. Mr. Chin, the Space Division reports successful testing of the quantum propulsion system. Also, Elon Musk is requesting another meeting about the Mars collaboration. The Prime Minister of Japan is holding on line 3 about the flying car initiative. Tell Elon I'll consider his proposal after he improves his offer, I replied, watching Uncle Steve wince at my casual dismissal of the world's second richest person. The Japanese contract can wait until after the Quantum City announcement. The same uncle who'd lectured me about reading business news now watched me casually reschedule world leaders. Mom clutched her purse, now a genuine Birkin I'd given her, rather than the knockoff she'd carried to the barbecue. Her eyes darted around the vast office, still struggling to reconcile her underachieving son with the reality before her. Quantum City? A $300 billion development project, I explained, my voice echoing in the hushed room. Self-sustaining, zero-emission, powered by Chin Quantum Technologies. We're building 3 of them to start. One where Uncle Steve's country club used to be. Aunt Patricia's voice shook. Used to be. I bought it last month. Along with most of that suburb, I said. I turned to Jessica. Your husband's startup? Weak execution. My tech team is rebuilding it. The quantum glass walls showed the city below, now covered with my company's logos. Sarah's hologram appeared. Sir, stock is up 12%. You gained 40 billion in an hour. The president wants a briefing. Dad's face paled. His company was now my smallest division. 40 billion in an hour? He asked. A slow day, I replied. Your successful business could never match this. Brad looked stunned. The law firm, you owned us? Every decision, every client, I confirmed. Aunt Patricia wiped her eyes. Why didn't you tell us? Would you have believed me? I asked. Uncle Steve spoke quietly. That barbecue, you let me lecture you? While I closed the largest private deal in history, I said. Your steaks were great, by the way. The room fell silent. Their wealth was now nothing compared to mine. Sarah reappeared. Quantum teleportation test succeeded. Bezos wants to talk about the lunar hotel. Tell him I'll call back. Family first, I said. Now let's discuss your new roles in Chin Global Holdings. The sun set behind the Chin Global Tower, its shadow covering Uncle Steve's mansion. The next barbecue would be in my private quantum garden 90 stories high.